And we're good.
Welcome back to Paper to Pavement. I'm Mikey, and this is the first episode of H-Gas Alliance. So we ended the season not on quite the high we wanted to. We had that broken transaxle again to deal with, which we decided, let's buckle down. I ended up calling Buggy Works in Indianapolis, and they decided that they could help us out and put a spool in for us. Well, we thought it was going to be just a spool. By the time they got there and tore it down, we realized that guy in Florida, he got us. And nothing in that transaxle was good. It was all wore out, rusted. It looked like it'd been full of water at some point. So Colby at Buggy Works decided that he was going to put together on as good a budget as we could have a good, reliable transmission that'll hold the power we've got. Here it is. He put new Porsche flanges on it, and then you see this shaft, that's part of the spool. This is what we kept breaking on the old one, is we kept breaking these shafts off. These are giant, and it's a solid that goes through one side to the other now. So, and as far as end play goes, we ain't got nothing, she's tight and ready to do a wheelie. Again, I'm gonna say it again, Colby at Buggy Works and all the guys up there, thank you so much. Really appreciate the help, guys. As we started working on the transaxle, getting it all pulled out, the car tore down, the goal was really just to get the car put back together and functional, because I got this little Crosley I was planning on having two cars with. Well, in the last video that we made of the crab, you guys met my nephew Hunter, and he had Ewing sarcoma and he passed. Well, this is the only project Hunter was able to be involved in. Kind of a sour subject really, but after that I really decided that the Fiat needs to be taken more seriously, and out of memory of him, I want the car to be my legit H-Gas car. So let's just focus over the off season to really buckle down, make this car not only more reliable, but let's go ahead and make it faster too, and let's go ahead and try to compete realistically with a car that can handle the power. So what's cool about social media is you get the chance to meet people and become good friends with people you never physically meet. And Sebastian just happens to be one of these guys that is on a list of one of the best friends I've got. And he's always looking out for me and, hey man, I've got this, or I know this for sale that can make your car go faster. And he's a Volkswagen nut, he's eat up with them. So I get a hold of him and I said, hey man, I'm thinking about going from a single carburetor to duals. I'd actually talked to Todd Hines about doing that, and he said it'd be a lot more efficient. Sebastian said, man, I just bought a whole box full of stuff, and there's intakes and throttle and everything in there. I'll just send them to you. So he sold them to me for what he bought them for, and then but when they showed up, the pictures he showed me were all grimy and nasty. When I pulled them out of the box, he had cleaned them up, he had re-threaded them, everything. It's just awesome, I really hope we get to go racing with Sebastian one of these days. So I have the engine all tore apart, and I decided to take the cooling system off of it, and instead of running like the old Volkswagen style alternator, I decided to run a GM one wire and made a bracket for it, and I was just starting to get everything pieced together. And then my wife's father passed away too, and he was in bad health, but we really weren't expecting anything like this to happen when it did. So that kind of pumped the brakes on the project for a few weeks too, and having to deal with that, and not just deal with that, like on a physical level, but dealing with it emotionally too. We had just lost my nephew, and then right after loses her dad, which me and Paul were I looked up to him. He was a role model of mine. He's the one that took me to Frank Hawley's racing school to get my license and everything. Like, Paul is the very first guy to ever take me to the drag strip. He did when I was a senior in high school. So I mean, a lot of me getting bit by the drag racing bug had to do with Paul. And with that happening, with Paul passing away, we really needed to get away for a little bit. So me and the wife and kids, it's a reoccurring thing here, but we end up going on Disney trips is what they really like to do with the kids. So to get away for a little bit, we decided to go on a Disney cruise. So when we got back from that cruise, I just came out in the shop and started putting everything together. I got the Transaxle in, put the engine in, and then I started messing around with the axles, and I realized that, again, our axles aren't going to work. We've got to start over again. So I call Indianapolis Rack and Axle, and they make me a set of CV axles. It's the only parts they could get to put them together in the time frame we needed. But they put together some we thought would hold up to 300 horsepower or so. So those axles, you know, they needed some time to get them together. I was hoping to have those together before Todd planned on coming and putting the floor in. At the Shadyside race, at the end of the season, the last race of last season, Todd Hines came up to me and asked me if I knew anybody that could put in floors in his car. I asked him, I was like, man, why aren't you making any progress on your car? And he just hit one of those walls that he thought was, you know, unachievable. He didn't know how to do it. And I walked around for a little bit, and then I went and asked Trent, I said, man, do you think this is something we could help him with? You know, would it be cool to ask him? And of course, Trent's all game for it. So I went back over to Todd and I said, man, why don't you save your money and put it into something else and just bring that car up to me and we'll have fun and spend a week, you know, putting a floor in it, or at least a couple days. And so from then on, that was the game plan. We decided that we would film it, and then that's honestly, that conversation with Todd is what sparked this idea of the season of H-Gas Alliance. And with that, it's like, you know, instead of us all being at each other's throats, they've always helped us every time we've broke thus far. So let's just all help each other to help this class grow into the biggest thing we can. So Todd's on his way up. He told me a time he was going to be here, and I mean, it was problem after problem, and really it was starting to scare me because you're like, man, this dude needs to burn up this bad juju before he gets to my property. And he had one blowout early in the morning, and then he had another blowout in Louisville. So I mean, he's limping to us with no spares, no nothing, kind of sketchy. But when he got there, it was good to see him, and from then on, we had nothing but good luck, you know. So thank God he did burn that up before he got here.
Someone put some kind of flat voodoo on you, huh?
Oh man, this is like being back home and doing stuff like this. The one we just had on the golf cart was 3.
Yeah, so everything he's been involved in that's got wheels today has had a flat.
So it's all your fault with the golf cart?
No, I'm not blaming the golf cart on him unless we get a flat in this. So when Todd got there, Todd's a funny guy. He thinks he's a nuisance when he's not. You know, he's just one of those guys that is worried to death about upsetting you, you know. And he gets it in there and he starts like showing me everything wrong with the car. And I told him, Todd, let's just get to work and have some fun, man. So we started making patterns, piecing it all together. And in that 3-day span, I got that floor done. You know, I mean, we went from cardboard, you know, like I say paper, to pavement. You know, we got that floor completely done. The job's done. Well, the plan with Todd was he was going to drop his car off. I was going to work on the floor for, I thought I'd need a couple weeks on it. And then he's going to take my Fiat, and him and Joey Little are going to tune it all in.
Yeah.
Wow, that is awesome.
You looked at me like I was nuts when I said it.
Well, I'm still going to look at you like you're nuts, but 2 days, that's impressive.
It is unbelievable.
Man, I don't know if you can see this kind of smile on my face. You usually won't see a smile like that when I've got clothes on.
Said,
I'm happy with that, dude.
That shit. Yeah, me too. That is just. God. But now it puts pressure on me because now I got to try to get the rest of the car looking up to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, cause you look in there and go, wow, look at that, and you look at it and go, oh man, like the distance between what it was just a few days ago and this.
To now,
Oh.
it's tremendous, ain't it? You also don't want your arms to stretch out too much more.
Right.
So you could go back, what, maybe height-wise though, I like you here.
Okay. Yeah.
Because imagine your helmet,
Yeah.
you know, because you're scooting back.
Tachometer about right there. Yeah. Oh, this is awesome.
I love you, buddy. Be careful, buddy. I love you.
Hi there.
That should help a 6'3" driver. No doubt. How's the door panels look with it?
Good.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be cool. Yeah, he'll definitely do that. Well, they take my car and I can't just let his set. So I decided that I would surprise him, and I did upholstery in his car too to take back down there, you know, to kind of an extra little incentive. So Todd takes my Fiat back to Crossville, Tennessee to just tune the carburetors and set the timing. That's all we're doing. That's all we think we're doing. And he calls me after he starts tearing it apart, and everything is wrong. There was a rocker setting off in the valve cover, so we were only running on 3 cylinders and we were breaking transaxles last season. So he calls me and he tells me, he said, man, these heads aren't flowing right. So he got a hold of his buddy at GT Racing 66 and he did a professional port job on it. I mean, just a beautiful set of heads on it, and to help us out. And then they just went deeper and deeper, and they realized, like, hey, these rings aren't seating right, so take the jugs off. And then it's, you know what, these pistons don't look good, and then the crank didn't look good either, so they ended up re-ringing, bearing, everything, measured it out. Here comes with the engine. So it was supposed to be a 2165 cc, and at some point it was at a stroker crank in it at one point, but it's blown up somewhere down the road, and the guy I bought it off of has put a stock crank back in it, so it actually brings it down to a 1914. So all this money that I spent to make sure that I had over 2,000 cc's was in the same wasted bucket that the transaxle money was in. But
There's good people in this car.
oh yeah, I've actually learned that the high performance Volkswagen community will take your money no matter what. Oh, but you know, Joey Little is a Volkswagen drag race guy. I mean, the guy he knows what he's doing. Everything that he does goes fast, and he's the kind of guy that can take a very small budget and get you a lot of performance out of a small budget. So I felt really comfortable knowing that Todd and Joey were going to be rebuilding this engine. And honestly, at that point, we got a new transaxle, we got new axles, I got new axle stubs, and now we're going to have a brand new engine. So now this car that I am going to be racing in memory of my nephew can actually show for what I want it to be, a good, reliable race car. So while it's over at Todd's, there's another guy that's got a YouTube channel in the area, Dennis. We've ended up being good buddies with him, and he has a channel that please go check out. It's called Hot Rod Dad. He does all kinds of coverage over shows and projects, and building projects of his own too. And the guy's got like the perfect, like, smooth voice. He's got the voice I wish I had for our channel, you know.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Hot Rod Dad channel. Glad you came. I hope you stay. If you haven't already, I hope you.
But Dennis is just a good dude, and he's an electrician by trade. So he actually came in to help Todd wire everything on my car, my line lock and my tack, and my alternator too. So everything that needed wired up, Dennis came in and took care for us too, which was just, I can't thank these guys enough. You know, I mean, like, we've got a group of guys up here that help me put things together, and then in Tennessee we've got the same thing, guys that want to do nothing but help us get to the track.
Working hard and hardly working.
Oh man, I'm too old for a car this size.
When we pulled up to Todd's, they had been working for, it looked like a week straight without sleep on my car just to get us to Shadyside, which you kind of feel guilty about when you show up, because I looked at Joey, and Joey's got a smile, and I could just tell the poor guy was wore out. He had really gave everything he got to help us out.
Mikey's car, I want to see him carry the front wheels off, even second gear.
And as we got through the night and towards the end of the night, I was starting to go, man, we're going to be lucky if we get this car back together. It was really starting to seem like maybe we're not going to make Shadyside, you know, not for lack of effort. I mean, everyone gave their all, but it was just starting to look like, you know, well, then there's something always happens to me when this happens. It happens when I do upholstery. It happens when I'm going on a trip or anything. No, let's flip this switch. We got to get it done. Like, we're not going to fail on this one. Let's get this done. So everyone there just flipped into game mode, and we just rock and rolled and got that car ready by the end of the night. When Joey went to start that car, of course, all of us are kind of quiet. And I mean, every time you start a fresh engine, you're scared to death it's going to scatter. You know, I mean, literally one bolt stripping or anything, you're screwed. You've lost everything. So the tension's a little high. And when they turn that key, it fires up. I mean, it fires up and runs, and seems like timing's set good. We rev through the throttle and everything. It's perfect. It's good to go. Which is hilarious, okay? So the only thing that they took my car to Tennessee to do was to set the timing and adjust the carburetors. When we left that night, the only thing they hadn't done, they had taken it down to the crank. The only thing they hadn't done was adjust the carburetors and set the timing. Oh, man. So I just wanted to make sure it would go in gear and move under its own power. I did a bonsai trip down a couple weeks prior to put the axles in, just to make sure they freely spun and everything, after they told me that engine had to be taken all the way apart, which we didn't plan on it. So I already knew the axles would fit, but I didn't know if they would spin, especially under power. I didn't know any of these things. So still, we heard it run, and I am nervous about putting it in gear. Put it in gear, let off, and it's got power. Like, it's peppy. As soon as I let off on the clutch, it was just go. It went. And it was too dark to really try to do anything, and all of us were so exhausted that we were like, let's load this thing on the trailer and let's head to bed for the night. So Todd's from a little town called Crossville, and Crossville's probably, I don't know, it's probably an hour away from Dayton, Tennessee, which at one time I lived in Dayton, Tennessee with a friend of mine named Earl, which now owns a tattoo shop that my brother Jesse apprentices at. So we decided, we had an extra day, like we had a whole day in between when we really needed to leave to go to Shadyside. So we just went and stayed with my brother and at Earl's, and then we got to check the tattoo shop out. And then our buddy Tommy Lee Bird, that's the Hot Rod Hoarder on YouTube as well, he got a hold of us and said, hey, while you're in town, come over here. I want to show you our stash. Him and his dad's got awesome. They got a big magnesium wheel collection and nostalgic dragster collection. Like, they've got everything cool in the world. And then he said, and I'll record with the Fiat for his channel. So it kind of helped both of us out too. And got to meet those guys. And I tell you, as far as meeting people that make you feel like family, those guys welcomed us in with open arms. So the time in Dayton was really just a hangout, chill day, kind of to get, you know, calm down for race day. But midway through that day, stomach started turning, and I started really realizing that you have no excuses. Now you have a working car, and we're going to have to go race this thing in North Carolina tomorrow. And the feelings that brings you is something more like, I don't know, agony than excitement, you know, because all I can really think about, whether I want to or not, is how much money I've spent on this thing over the winter. This $5,000 3-day throwdown budget car that me and Walter were just going to do real quick and street drive and do all these things with, I have 20 grand in it now. $20,000 in this car. It's no longer you know, a play with little toy. It's got to be a serious race car, and now I want it to perform like a serious race car. So that's all that I was really thinking about leading into the Friday when we had to head to Shadyside. So we pull into Shadyside. Everyone's happy to see us. Kind of the whole group was with us concerned whether we were going to make it or not. So everybody was super thrilled to see us pull in. We got there a day early, which they do test and tune on the Friday night. And I decided, you know, instead of going back to the hotel and trying to go to sleep and worry again, let's just get out and try to make a pass, and let's feel what this car does and make sure it does function and operate. All right, I'm super nervous, but we got a new car, really, this season. We know it goes in first gear in reverse. That's where we're at. It's been a long winter. A lot of good people have helped us out, and we've tried to help out a lot of good people too. So let's see if it all pays off. We're gonna go out and make a test pass tonight and get ready to actually run. I guess they're doing Chicago style is what they call it. It's like a bracket racing, kind of like March Madness style. So here we go, guys. I pull up for one pass, I skip the burnout box. I just I'm more or less trying to keep it running. It was really cold. I hadn't put heat in it or anything. So I was just kind of feathering the throttle a little bit. When the light turned green,
Yeah! One piece! It stayed in one piece! Let's go!
feathering the throttle a little bit. When the light turned green, I let off on it and it did a wheelie from like nothing. Like I wasn't even giving it any throttle. Did a wheelie, went to bang it into second and she wouldn't go. Wouldn't even think about going into second. So I'm like, man, I'm fighting with it, and then I just finally get it to go to third. Once I get down the track, it starts making power, and I feel that this little car is going to do very well. And those heads that Glenn Taylor put together ended up being exactly the recipe we needed to make some power. So I get to the end of the track, I get back, I tell them, you know, the shifter's not working, so it can be a bunch of things that, you know, we don't really know. Such a fresh car, untested car, that we knew we were going to have a couple little bugs. I couldn't get it to go into second, you know, but did it take off better? Did it do a wheelie?
Oh yeah.
Did it?
Oh yeah.
It felt great inside, especially the only thing that's trouble is first to second. And I got screwed up here, like I couldn't get it to go into first. So from first, I need to just bang it into second. Like just pull it back, I think is the problem. But
Yeah.
Nice run.
thanks, man. I feel a lot better. Yeah. That brake, I got staged in that first light. I hit my line log and I tried to bump through it. Dead stuck, wouldn't move. I was like, daggone it. Decided to get in there and stab it and then hold it, and the light was already green by the time I did that.
Oh yeah.
Did it do a wheelie for real?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I ended up going in and looking, and I hadn't adjusted the clutch. So I was pushing the pedal almost all the way to the floor, and the clutch wasn't engaging enough to shift, you know, throughout the gears. So that's all it was. I tightened that up a little bit, and then I tested it right there in the parking lot, and I knew that I was going to sleep very easy knowing the next day everything on this car is working and ready to go.
Was it better that time?
Fix it. What was happening? Are you videoing?
Yeah.
What was happening was that little clutch fork that releases the thing, I didn't have it tightened up all the way. So when I was pushing the clutch in, it wasn't fully releasing it. So I was having to bang it in gear through the clutch.
Oh.
So like the
power shifting or something?
The clutch just wasn't releasing.
Oh.
So it just wasn't wanting to go into second. Now I just baby shifted in second. Shadyside is in Shelby, North Carolina. And we leave, we go to the hotel. I'm excited about the next day. Me and Trent even go have an awesome seafood dinner at a local little place. That was a good little hole in the wall spot. Feeling good. Next morning we wake up and I feel like, man, I'm just in the zone so deep, you know, like the days I have to drive. Some days I wake up and I go, man, today ain't the day. I don't feel like it. And then there's other days that I go, I'm going to be a hard one to beat if my car cooperates. You know, I just felt like I could drive that car really well. We get there, there's a crowd around the car before we even get in. You know, I mean, we pull the truck in and there's a crowd around the car where we can't even pull into it. This is the first race in Sega history that H-Gas has enough cars to actually compete in a shootout. They're gonna have a finals. We're gonna be able to run all night. This is something that we just don't, you know, none of us are used to. So everyone there is learning. Someone else that finally filled into the H-Gas, the H-Gas class that we've all been anticipating and really excited about coming in is Scott Partee. He was a drag racer 40-something years ago, and now he's getting back into it because of H-Gas and seeing everybody having fun. So he put together a little Rambler wagon to come race with us. Scott Partee here, he's a buddy of ours. He hasn't raced in 46 years. This is the first time in 46 years. It's cool. Always with H-Gas, we get a pass, one qualifying pass, and then we usually fall in after the first round of the race. So we end up skipping one round to qualifying just because we're an exhibition class. So Todd decided to run over and give me a hand because I didn't have a crew guy. I didn't have anybody there to really help me. Trent was there with me, but he's filming, so I need someone there to help me get my belts on and kind of keep me calm. So I asked Todd, buddy, how do I need to get up here and do it? My tires still had stickers on them. You know, I mean, like they're brand new. I've never done a burnout in them. I've never even made a good pass in them, honestly. I've just literally drove them up to 55 miles an hour at Shadyside last year. That's all I'd done. So he told me, get in the water box, rev it up, do a burnout just to knock the dust off the tires, you know, and warm it up, then get staged. So I get up and I'm thinking, this thing probably ain't even gonna do a burnout. It does a burnout just fine. There's no problem doing a burnout. And then I get up and I stage. I look over, who's in the next lane? Top dog, Beelzebub, fastest guy. So we're gonna know right now where we stack up with the fastest in the field, which is a good thing. It's nerve-wracking, but it is good to know where you stand. I stage, I feel it. I mean, I just feel like there's no one there on the property except me. I felt good. I staged it, and they run a pro tree in Sega. So you want to leave on yellow. I get staged, it turns yellow. It turns yellow, and I felt like I cut a perfect reaction time. Like I just really felt like I killed it. I had no issues with the line lock even. You know, I mean, I just felt like I nailed that light. Well, it doesn't matter if you nail a light when you snap both axles. Didn't even move again. Here we go. We push it back, and I was upset. I mean, I didn't cut any corners this time. There isn't a $30 junkyard transaxle in this. You know, there's a couple $1,000 transaxle in here, a few $1,000 engine. I mean, I've really spent the money to make this car a good race car. And we snapped these axles on a 4,000 RPM launch. I wasn't even I want to leave it $6,000. If it ain't gonna leave at 4, it ain't gonna leave at 6. So we push it back. Everyone's asking me what my tire pressure is, things like that. Guys, I had 25 pounds of air pressure in the tires. I mean, it should have annihilated them if it was going to. I can't believe it snapped those axles. That's not how an axle is supposed to look. Well.
So when they say, how's it hanging?
Yeah, I can say low and to the left.
Low and to the left. I got two hanging, so.
Hey, Todd. Hanging low and to the left. Look under here.
In the Hills Bells, he had some problems in round 1. Caught in the 17th slot.
Hanging low to the left.
Turn me on, turn me loose.
Turn me on and turn me loose.
Trust me, man. We're both holding back tears. Trust me, man.
I can fix this. I have a better idea just because of this. What I'll do, 1 second, buddy. What I'll do is I'll take yokes that are blanks. I can probably have some made if I can't. And I'll have them hold like the ones we got on the Bug that hold that 9-inch and that 400 horsepower, I'll put that on here, and then I'll just have to, what I'll have to do is adjust these to where these move just up and down. They don't go at an angle. So I'll almost do ladder bars. I'll come out here. Man, it's crazy. I got this done in my head already. And then I'll make those axles. That'll fix it. At that point, the transmission will be weaker than the axles. But I think that Transaxle, man, it works good. Buggy Works killed it on that, man. I gotta thank those guys for sure. But, you know, if this is the worst thing that we go home with this weekend, it's probably the cheapest fix, honestly. You know, like, if anything else would have broke, it would have cost more money than this.
Motor felt good and everything?
The motor is a killer, man. And honestly, I mean, it's easy to say this because I didn't make a pass, but I did everything right. You know, I did. I feel like I did a good burnout. I was having trouble with that line lock and I was worried about it. I nailed that, man. And then when I seen yellow, I was gone. I mean, I was going to tree the piss out of it, man. If I can get this, I really feel like I got a car that can compete in H-Gas. I really do. If I can get these gremlins worked out. Then we get looking, and it's really the same issue we had with the Transaxle. Those axles were made out of small diameter kind of bar stock, and when you really compare it to how the Transaxle that we kept snapping, it's the same kind of steel and pretty much the same size we were snapping before. So our bigger, beefier spool can take the punishment, but now we've added in shear points with these axles, which I'm glad it was the axles. Me and Trent are exhausted at this point. I feel like we'd been up for 2 weeks straight, not just working on Todd's car and getting it ready with the floor and everything, but I had an upholstery job in that I'd been working non-stop on to try to get done before we left. And then to get there, work non-stop to get the car down the track for it to break on the first pass again is just, it's a story I'm tired of telling. You know, I don't like that this keeps happening. So I'm under the car. I decided to get under there and almost hide out for a little bit. You're not in the best mood when a car keeps breaking over and over and over. And it's not the same thing that's breaking, but it's so close to the same thing that when people come up, the same people that came up last year, it sounds like the same thing keeps breaking. And guys, I thought I was prepared. I really did. I thought we were going to get out there and do good. So I was extremely disappointed. Last year, I knew we had weak parts. This year, I didn't think we had any weak parts. I thought honestly, I thought it was bulletproof. While I'm sitting under there, though, it starts dawning on me, what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be a quitter, or do you want to conquer this thing? The highest hills in the world, you've got to work hard to get to the top of. And this little car just happens to be Mount Everest, as small as it is. I'm looking under there and I'm trying to game plan, and my head's going a million miles an hour, and Trent comes up and asks, man, what do you want to do? What's the plans? And honestly, at that point, I said, let's just go back to the hotel. Let's chill out. We got a long drive tomorrow. UFC fights were on too, which we were looking forward to. Broken drive shafts on purpose so we could come watch the UFC fights. Real fans right here. And we were actually kind of hating that we were missing. So I said, let's just go back, watch UFC, have a good night, and then once we get back home, we'll figure out a way to fix this car. So really, with episode 1 of H-Gas Alliance, that should have been the end. I'm so tired of leaving on broken, negative notes. So when I came back, I came up with a plan to let's make some real drive shafts. Let's stop messing around with these CV axles and all this import junk. Let's get U-joints. Let's get drive shafts made. I called Indy Rack and Axle again. Nothing that has broken is their fault, guys. Like, I don't want anyone to think I'm saying a bad word about Indy Rack and Axle, because they have done nothing but work as hard as they can with me and as fast as they can to get us what we need to make it to the track. So I've got nothing but good to say about those guys, and this will never be the last thing I do with them. They're going to end up being a big part of projects from now on. What we decided to do, though, I got these axles. I even got spares too. Hopefully we'll never need them. That's the reason I bought them. But I thought, let's put this in and let's do a test at Grandma's. she's got a little concrete pad, and another thing that she is she's in Tennessee on vacation. So while she's gone and can't run us off and tell us no, I figured let's test these drive shafts out and see if they really work. Right there, it came down though, you know? Like right there, when it hit, I felt it, like fall. I didn't leave a mark, did I? Not really.
No, little bitty.
Now out there, I went to turn around, I forgot it's posi, so in the grass it slipped. She's gonna be mad about that one. I did not mean to do that. Yeah, dude, it's good.
Hey, before you check the footage, what do you feel before you see it?
I feel like I feel like it's fixed. It's working. The way I've got the rear end set feels really, really good, because when it took off, it didn't wiggle. It just lifted and went. You know how before I felt like it was shimmying a little bit? Well, stiffening up that rear end just made it launch hard, and it went pretty straight. I don't know how fast it actually went, but I felt like I was at the end of that gravel before I could react, you know? So the little sucker's gonna move.
Let's check it out.
And at about 6,000 RPM, stage, I even line locked it. Like in my head, I was at the starting line of the drag strip, and I let off on it thinking we were just gonna annihilate some tires. I mean, really, I wanted to leave some black marks that she can come back and see. It ain't gonna leave no black marks anywhere it goes, because it pulled the wheels up straight in the air. So the H-Gas Alliance episodes don't need to be leaving on negatives. We're gonna try to leave on positives, and I hope that was a positive for you guys. It was for us. We had a blast. And now I am confident to say we are ready for Xena, Ohio next month.